Well, Mueller's findings are not only resonating with Democrats. In an op-ed in the Atlantic today, a former member of Trump's transition team said the report has convinced him that's enough is enough. Republican lawyer and law professor J.W. Verrett writes that if you actively work within a political party, there is some expectation that you will follow orders and rally behind the leader, even when you disagree. There is a point, though, in which that expectation turns from a mix of loyalty and pragmatism into something more sinister, a blind devotion that serves to enable criminal conduct. He writes, quote, "The Mueller report was that tipping point for me, and it should be for Republican and independent voters and for Republicans in Congress." Well, I'm joined right now by the author of that op-ed, J.W. Verrett. Also, Natasha Bertrand is here. She's national security correspondent now with Politico. So what is the tipping point for you?
Well, the tipping point is the Mueller report. It's the outline of potentially 12 instances of obstruction of justice. Frankly, I think it's time. And let's remember, impeachment is only the beginning of a process. It's not the end. You've been around.
Yeah, I've been around. But let me ask you, what changed it? Because for months now, we knew that he fired Comey because he wouldn't play ball with him. He wouldn't give him a loyalty oath. He wouldn't let Michael Flynn off the hook. We know that he pushed Sessions over and over again, the AG, because he wouldn't play ball with him. He recused himself. We could see everything he was doing to try to shut down this investigation. You didn't see all that in broad daylight. You waited till the paper came out in paper.
Well, nobody was interested in publishing it, frankly, until this time. But
you saw it all happening.
Yeah, I saw it all happen. Don't forget, Chris.
And all these meetings with the Russians, do you think that's a little weird? All of a sudden, every time they go to meet, there's a Russian in the room somewhere, Valiant, all these people, Kislyak, they're all meeting all the time. Manafort's a Russian representative.
It's all troubling, and I had faith in Robert Mueller to figure it out. And remember, I quit the transition team before he was elected, long before he was elected. So,
when did you stop believing in Trump as a leader?
I never believed in him as a leader. I hope to guide his policy decisions in a good direction like a lot of other Republicans.
Did you vote for him?
No, I voted for Evan McMullin.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Natasha, let me talk about this thing here with where we're going now with this investigation. Jared Kushner today said that the investigation of Russian interference in the election was worse than the interference itself. Here he is.
And quite frankly, the whole thing's just a big distraction for the country. And you look at, what Russia did, buying some Facebook ads to try to sow dissent and do it, and it's a terrible thing. But I think the investigations and all of the speculation that's happened for the last 2 years has had a much harsher impact on our democracy than a couple of Facebook ads.
A couple of Facebook ads. Kushner downplayed Russia's influence in Facebook as a couple of ads. However, the Mueller report specifically cites Facebook's estimate that Russian accounts on the social media site reached as many as 126 million persons. That's about a third of the people in this country. Natasha, why at this point is he trying to say there really wasn't nothing there?
Well, the irony, of course, is that Jared Kushner was a specific target of these Russian influence operations. After the election, he was targeted by Putin's oligarchs, by Putin's cronies, who thought that he was naive and susceptible to
influence. He was the soft underbelly.
Right. And so that vulnerability allowed the Russians to see an entry point into the Trump transition team, into the Trump White House.
Is he still an asset? He was the person. He acts like an asset.
Well,
it's no big deal.
He certainly...
Sweeping and systematic interference in our electoral process is what Mueller concluded, and he's saying a couple of ads on Facebook.
Well, the FBI clearly found some issues in his background and currently that made them hesitate in giving him a security clearance, right? So the susceptibility to potentially being blackmailed by foreigners due to his business interests, due to whatever it may be, has made it so that he was rejected for a full security clearance, for a top secret security clearance, and was operating on an interim clearance. And that, of course, is one of the big fights now that Congress is waging against the White House, and that the White House is being reluctant to actually produce any documents and witnesses about.
Well, one of Trump's most outspoken allies, Senator Lindsey Graham, is still pretending the Mueller report vindicates the president, even though it provides a compelling case that Trump obstructed justice. Here's Graham.
There's going to be a stampede to impeach President Trump. They're going to use the Mueller report, anything they can find to try to destroy his presidency. And the Mueller report, to me, is vindication of President Trump.
It's a far cry from the Graham of 1999 who insisted that then-President Clinton should be impeached for obstructing justice.
This is about a person out of control who took the law, turned it upside down. Every time there was a crossroads, he put his personal and legal interest ahead of the nation. He's the chief law enforcement officer of the land. He encouraged people to lie for him. He lied. I think he obstructed justice. I think there's a compelling case that he has, in fact, engaged in conduct that would be better for him to leave office than to stay in office.
Explain the Republican soul to me, JW. You were close to it. You were in the transition. How do they work these things out morally? They trash Clinton for his, well, bad behavior, but Trump gets a ride, a free ride.
I see a huge difference between the principled conservative and libertarian soul, where I identify with, and the Republican Party. The Republican Party and Republican, politicians are tools for me to implement principled policy. That's it. When that tool is useless, it's time to set it aside. But more importantly, we're not even talking about that.
No, 9 out of 10 Republican voters have been going along with Trump, despite the Access Hollywood grossness, despite the women he paid off. All this evidence, if they'd got out on Bill Clinton, they would have thrown him out. And the same with Hillary. They had nothing on her. If they had any of this, they would have thrown her out.
Well, I think
How do they have this double standard that they just seem to, when they have the word wallow in? I can't think of a better word for they wallow in the double standard.
I think you're far too quick to just sort of jump over the problems with Clinton. I think the primary system.
I'm not jumping over. I was tough on him, but I also noticed that the Republicans.
Well, I think that we nominated two very flawed people that didn't represent the best of us. I think we can at least agree on that. I wish more Democrats had spoken up back then, but now's the time for people like me to stand up. And I think, frankly, as the hearings proceed forward, as the American people read the Mueller report from Amazon, it's very popular right now, I think the tide's going to turn. I really do.
Which way?
It's going to turn in favor of impeachment. I don't think there's any.
When are the Republicans going to join that? I mean, Maxine Waters, I think, has a realistic view. I think Joe Weinberg's somewhat unrealistic, thinking that a little more evidence, another set of hearings, another testimony by somebody, and all of a sudden, Mitch McConnell's going to say, the sky has cleared for me. I see Jesus. I see. What, do they really think this is going to happen?
Well, this is the thing, Chris, and a repeated talking point that we're hearing is that they want to see the full unredacted version of the Mueller report. But that is not going to tell them any brand new information.
But why do they think
Trump's
the Republicans
conduct.
are going to switch?
That's a great question. I think we've been asking that question for the last 2 years as more and more has come out about the White House's misconduct on various issues. But the Republicans have seemed to really stay firm on the president.
It's like third world people. The British used to just yell a little louder so they'll understand them. Well, they speak a different language. That's the problem. They speak a different language, the Republicans, the Democrats. They don't. Well, your last thought.
We have seen the top lines debated. We haven't seen the nitty-gritty. This is nitty-gritty soap opera style details. Give the people time to process. I trust they'll do the right thing.
Okay. You can make a lot of money on the betting table with that one. A lot of money betting on the Republicans to switch. J.W. Verrett, thank you, sir, for coming on. You're nice to come on and good writing. Natasha, as always, thank you, Natasha Bertrand.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.